Welcome back. It's time to talk again. I say time to talk because we've had two conversations leading up to this conversation that hopefully will pull together, will tie together our conversation about success. You'll recall that in conversation one and conversation two, we addressed the issue of someone who's very interested in being successful and trying to know what needs to be done in order for them to realize the success. I said very clearly in both conversations, both previous conversations, that there were at least three things that were necessary, not one, not two, but three total things that were necessary for an individual to be able to realize his or her full potential as related to the success they desired. In conversation number one, I identified that the first element of success is the need for knowledge and understanding. We went into great depth and detail on that, and you can review that if you wish to be reminded of the specifics. But then in conversation number two, we again identified knowledge and understanding as being the first of the three elements, but we said the second of the three elements was skills and application, being able to take what we knew and understood and being able to apply it in relationship to that which we are working to be successful on or with or in. You know, the reality is knowing and doing are exceptionally important in anything. But let me ask this question of you. We've all lived for a while. We've all seen different circumstances, situations. We've seen people be successful. We've seen people be unsuccessful. And we've seen a lot of people in between trying to figure out which they were. Have you ever experienced an individual who had great knowledge? They understood well the topic in which they were supposedly the expert or desiring to be more successful. They were knowledgeable and they understood the knowledge, but they also had the skills to apply that knowledge in the real world. All right, they're well on their way, right? And yet they flame out. Great potential, great possibilities, but it just never really happens. I would argue that one of the saddest commentaries about individuals and individual performance and potential is, oh, what could have been. Looking or thinking about an individual and saying, oh, he or she had so much potential. There were so many opportunities that were available to them. And yet, they didn't take what they knew. They didn't take what they could do. They just wasted that opportunity. So what's missing? In a situation, in an illustration such as that, what's missing? I would argue it's the third of our three elements that are necessary for success. Without trying to be melodramatic, I would say the third element is very simply attitude, or, if you prefer, desire. Their attitude would not get them over the hump. Their attitude would not allow them or even force them to go that next extra mile in applying what they knew and doing what they knew to do, so that they could then distance themselves and elevate themselves and in fact realize the success that's available. So why is that? Why is that? Well, some will tell us that there's all kinds of things that are going on in our brains. I happen to believe that, and I would imagine you do too. But for many people, they fight with themselves more than they fight with the environment. They can't imagine themselves going further than they've already gone. They can't imagine turning loose of something they have as they reach for something they don't have. They can't imagine themselves, unfortunately, making the sacrifices necessary to be successful. But some do. Hopefully you do. I think I do. See, we see that for us to be successful, for us to accomplish our goals and objectives, for us to realize our full potential, we have to want it. And we have to want it so bad that we not only see it, we not only prepare ourselves for it, we not only work for it, but that we commit ourselves to it. Now, commitment requires all kinds of things. It requires time and energy, effort. It oftentimes requires sacrifice, maybe even a little pain along the way. But the point being very simply this: if our desire to be successful is so great that we're willing to take what we know and what we can do and apply it in a way that we are confident by way of our attitude and committed by way of our desire, that nothing's going to stand in our way. Success then is a reality, not a pipe dream. Now, it may seem too simple, but if you look back on circumstances and situations in your own life, or if you talk to someone close to you who's been successful in his or her life, just do a little analysis. Ask them, or ask yourself, what was the elements? What happened along the way? And along the way may have been days, months, or years, but what happened along the way that allowed me to go from where I was to ultimately where I wanted to be and to realize success along the way? And I'll bet you will find that number one, you had the knowledge or worked to acquire the knowledge and understanding that would take you from point A to point success. Number two, you developed and applied the skills that were required at every stage along the way, and at all of the process, all of it, you were focused on staying true to the goal, keeping your eye on the prize, making the commitment, even the sacrifices necessary to go from where you were to where you ultimately wanted to be. Now, I'm not trying to be a quote-unquote motivational speaker, but I will tell you this: goals change the way you think. Goals change the way you act. And ultimately, goals change the way you are. My question to you is this: are your goals in keeping with who you are and what you want? And if they are you willing to acquire the knowledge, acquire the skills, and continue the focus on the attitude and desire necessary to be successful? If the three of those are in concert, one with the other, I have every confidence that success is in your reach. I hope these conversations have been helpful to get you from where you are to where you ultimately want to be.